We pick up in unit number 8, auto insurance, in our course. In this section, the state may ask you about the different parts of your auto insurance policy. Remember, whatever coverage A is, that tells us what kind of policy this is. In auto insurance, coverage A is liability to another. That's why it's a casualty policy. Coverage B of your policy, we go into medical payments. And remember, medical payments means it's a no-fault part of the policy. Now, this is where we can actually get coverage for ourselves and all of our passengers inside of our vehicles. It's a no-fault part of the policy. We'll talk more about this in a moment. And then we go into coverage C is for the uninsured. In some states, it's the uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. We buy this part of the policy to protect us from other people if they are at fault in an accident and they either have no insurance at all or not enough for the accident. And then we go into property, and that's coverage D, damage to your property. And remember, if it's your property, we have deductibles. In auto insurance, we have comprehensive and collision. We'll talk more about this in just a moment. On page 209, we go into the definitions of auto insurance, and the state is probably going to hit you with some questions here. I think they may ask you a question about who is an insured under the policy, and that is your family members. Highlight this in your book. Page 209, third paragraph, it says, a family member is any person related to the named insured or a spouse who is a resident of the named insured's household. This includes those related by blood, marriage or adoption, ward or foster children. What they're saying is that people may be inside your household like your children that just obtained their driver's license and they're 15 and a half, 16 years old. They're not named on the policy, but they are insured under the policy. And remember, we need to rate our children if they're not old enough to have their own policy. On page 209, we go into bodily injury. We've seen this before. You know exactly what this means. I think the state is going to ask you a question here. Remember, bodily injury is BI in the industry. And remember, this includes death. In your books, highlight bodily injury means bodily harm, sickness, or disease, including resulting in death. I have seen that as a state exam question, and death is an answer. Now, I think the state is going to ask you some questions here on personal auto insurance. I think the state is going to ask you the difference between a personal auto insurance and commercial insurance. They're going to make sure you know the difference between a personal policy and a commercial policy. On page 209, go down towards the bottom of this page where it talks about vehicles. It says, covered auto includes the following. Any vehicle listed in the declarations page. Vehicles eligible to be included are the private passenger autos, which are, this is a state exam question and answer. Highlight this, underline this. Private passenger autos, which are four-wheeled motor vehicles, pickups, trucks, and vans that are under, key track word, under 10,000 pounds. I think the state is going to make sure you know the difference between personal vehicles and commercial. Remember, if it has four wheels, it's a truck, it's whatever, it has to be under 10,000 pounds for us to be able to write that policy under personal auto policies. And of course, anything over 10,000 pounds would then go into commercial. I think the state's going to ask you questions here to make sure you know the difference. Let's keep reading. Newly acquired vehicle. Highlight this in your books. I think the state may ask you a question here. It means newly acquired auto is a private passenger auto, pickup, or van that the named insured acquires during the policy period. So that just means that you just bought another vehicle. You have a policy and you just bought another vehicle. You acquired a new one. On page 10,